Looking around the industry, it is pretty clear that we are in the strangest era of gaming. At a time where we're getting some of the best new games from not only AAA devs, but from indie devs alike, we're also getting some of the most shallow, bottom-of-the-barrel gaming experiences that we have ever gotten. But how did we get here? And now that we are here, could this still be one of the best eras of gaming that we have ever had? And what could the future of gaming look like on the current trajectory that we're on? This is the dichotomy of the current era of gaming and what this era means to me. The gaming industry as a whole has gone through many iterations throughout its entire history. While I'm not here today to take you through the entire history of gaming, that video would probably be 5 hours long, I do want to go back and look at what I believe to be the flashpoint of the gaming industry that has led to the schism that we are in today. This split in the industry, in no small part, began in August of 2013 with a little old game called Counter-Strike. Before August, CS was struggling with a split player base, with the majority of people playing 1.6 or prior iterations, and a smaller majority playing the new CSGO, which was Valve's new iteration of Counter-Strike. In August, though, Valve dropped the new Arms deal update into CSGO, and it changed the trajectory of gaming to where we are today. In this update, Valve achieved a couple of things with Counter-Strike. Firstly, CSGO would now have weapon cases that could be earned and then opened with purchasable keys. These cases were announced as coming as exclusive drops, with one of those drops being an esports case that would then fund prize pool for the esports scene. Cases would be cycled out over a period of time, thus creating what is the backbone of live service, and that is FOMO, or the fear of missing out. The second big thing that this did was introduced Counter-Strike into the Steam marketplace, which was introduced by Valve in TF2 the year prior. This took the FOMO and cranked it up to 100, because not only are you getting skins now for your gun, but that skin could be worth real-world money, something that has kind of plagued the gaming industry, especially with all of the CSGO gambling that's occurring. And while Valve wasn't the first company to introduce loot crates, MapleStory holds that title. With this Arms deal update, and with the combined popularity of Valve games, Counter-Strike being the biggest, loot crates were thrust into the mainstream and were shown to be wildly profitable. But Valve games are just on PC. To blow up the idea of loot boxes, something would have to come along that bridged the entire gaming landscape to the idea that loot boxes are just normalized in gaming now. Which brings us to Overwatch in 2016. Unlike Valve, Blizzard was creating Overwatch to be launched on all platforms, except for Switch, which didn't come until 2019. Overwatch's success, $1 billion revenue earned after 1 year, and the total and complete mainstreaming of loot boxes shifted publishers' perspective on microtransactions within the gaming industry. Loot boxes, though, were only one possible mechanic that could be used for the live service monster. The other possible system was also created by Valve in 2013 with Dota 2, but was made wildly popular, with a new, upcoming, popular game birthed out of a tower defense game made by Epic Games. Actually, it wasn't really a popular game. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you probably haven't even heard of it. It was just like a little game called Fortnite. When Fortnite Save the World launched and didn't quite get the reception or the revenue that they were looking for, they pivoted and decided to split off into Fortnite Battle Royale, this genre that was kind of taking the gaming landscape by force. And within its first 2 weeks of launch, Fortnite had reached 10 million players. One of them, of course, being me. Along with the launch of Fortnite BR came the Season Shop, which essentially laid the foundation of what this second mechanic of live service can be, and that is the Battle Pass. In this Season Shop, players could level up and then purchase cosmetics once they reached a certain level with Epic Games' in-game currency called V-Bucks. When Season 2 launched, this system was replaced with what you might think is the current Battle Pass. If you've ever played a Battle Pass, that is what this looked like. For those who are a well-adjusted human in today's society and have never engaged with a Battle Pass, essentially what it is you have a free track, and in that track, just by playing the game, you're going to earn some rewards, like cosmetics or coins or whatever it may be. You're going to earn some of those rewards in the free track. But then you have the premium track. For a one-time purchase of around $10, you can earn all of these things in the premium track just by playing the game. So you play the game, you earn some like XP, and you level up, and you can get these rewards. Not only did this bring FOMO, like we saw with loot crates, it also introduced a better retention model for the games that were being played. It pushed players to log in daily to earn these rewards because you wanted to complete the Battle Pass, you wanted to do the tasks that it gave you so that you didn't feel like you were, wasting your money by not completing it. And with the launch of Fortnite, and mainly the Season 2 update, that has now gotten us to where we are today with the live service model. And with the mainstreaming of loot boxes and battle passes complete in 2017, most publishers started to shift their view on what they're wanting to do to make money. They all saw the Fortnite explosion and saw how much money Fortnite was making, and they wanted to chase that dragon and catch it. And you start to see battle passes and loot boxes in all sorts of games. Games where it didn't even make sense, or you could tell that it was so rushed out and so poorly made that it absolutely tanked launches of games. Looking at you, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and also fuck you, EA, for what you did to it at launch and how you responded to it once you got backlash. Gone were the days, though, of buying a game, paying for some DLC maybe, and then getting, your 20 to 100 hours out of the game and being happy with it. And while there was some pushback on the live service aspect of gaming from some consumers, loot crates, ultimate team modes in sports, battle passes, all of this was essentially just accepted by the general consumer. The sentiment for live service games has started, though, to wane a little bit from where we were at its inception. More and more gamers are becoming burned out of this overdone live service model, especially when that model is tied to a very poorly made game, or a game that could have been better if it wasn't tied directly to this extra shit. Again, looking at you, Star Wars Battlefront 2, fucking EA. There is also a possibility that when a live service game gets shut down, if it's online only, that game is unplayable. You made a purchase, that purchase is now worthless because you can't connect to the online servers. They shut them down. This was such a sticking point by the consumer base that the Stop Killing Games movement, the movement that kind of took the gaming landscape by storm earlier this year, received a gigantic wave of support from most people. It also doesn't help that AAA publishers also try to avoid any envelope pushing whatsoever. It's much easier to create and put out the 75,000th edition of COD and sell 7 trillion bagillion quadrillion copies of the game and just make hand over fist in money without really much risk. And because a lot of these games just kind of fit into the live service model, a lot of publishers have just been trying to catch that cash cow from the IPs that they already have created. But if live service and the AAA conundrum is on one side of the canyon, what's on the other side of the canyon screaming back at them? In the early 2000s, the term indie game was created. And by the 2010s, many great indie games had been created, including Garry's Mod, Limbo, Terraria, and Minecraft, which I played in college on an old laptop when it was in beta. God, I feel old. But around the same time that the live service kind of gaming experience was being birthed, the indie side was also going through some pretty big changes. In 2012, Valve launched the Steam Greenlight, which was used to help get smaller developers kind of a fast-tracked process of getting their game put onto the Steam storefront. Early access also became popularized in 2013, mainly by Steam, but then also with the Xbox preview program in 2015. This allowed developers, big and small, to release games out into the public and then create the game along with their community. And while, this is sometimes abused, it has also led to some of the best gaming experiences that you could possibly have. Baldur's Gate 3, that was early access. Subnautica, that was early access. A game that I've recently been playing, Necessi, that was in early access. There are a ton of games that have released into early access that have gone on to be absolute masterpieces. In 2014, we also saw the release of the Godot engine, which was used to compete within the developer space. And in 2018, Epic Games launched the Epic Games Store, which created competition within the gaming space and also created a ton of revenue sources for all sorts of developers across the entire landscape. In fact, with the launch of the Epic Games Store, I believe that marks the starting point to the current era that we are in. The era of the revolution against live service. Now, of course, live service games are still around, and they're still wildly popular. I mean, I still partake in some live service games. But more and more publishers are starting to push back on the live service model and create things that are garnering large swaths of gamers to play. And it's not even just indie games either. There are AAA publishers that are also pushing back against the live service model and showing that you can create a game and that game can be wildly popular and wildly profitable. Larian, CD Projekt Red, Warhorse Studios, these are all great examples of the old style of creating games working in the new live service era. Some developers are even trying to evolve the live service model by removing the FOMO out of the equation. Halo Infinite, PGA 2K, these are both examples of battle passes that never expire. You can purchase them and complete them at any time. Did you miss 2 seasons ago? That's fine. You can just go back and do it and get the rewards for it if you really want it. Honestly, this is something that every single live service game that has a battle pass should do. Period. The way that you also see just what seems to be random games just take off nowadays also shows that there is a big appetite for the games that aren't the live service model. Vampire Survivors launched in 2022 as a shoot-'em-up bullet heaven game. With people enjoying this game through word of mouth and content creators making content for it, this game has sold 10 million copies. And it was a single dev that made that. I'd say that's a pretty big hit. Or how about a game like Stardew Valley? I'm sure almost everybody who's watching this video has heard of that. Again, a single dev at the time, multiple free expansions released over the course of its life so far, and that thing has sold 40 million copies. 40 million. Want something a little more recent? Megabonk was also released by a single dev, and that thing has sold over 1 million copies since it was released on September 18th. There are hundreds, if not thousands of games that have been made without using the live service model, and they're making a ton of revenue just off the fact of being fun to play. In part, this is because Steam, in tandem with social media, has the ability to take a game and blow that game up to the mainstream audience. But also, it is easier, much easier, to get into the development of a game than where we were when there was less competition. Godot, Unity, Unreal, G-Development, all of the different tools that you have at your disposal to use in creating a game has expanded quite rapidly in the last 10 years. The amount of knowledge about these tools is also right at your fingertips. You can get on and watch a YouTube video and learn from there how to create a game. There's training programs, there's subscription-based models that you can do. Everything is kind of here in front of you. and all of the knowledge is there to help you bring your creation to reality. Someone can develop a game as just like a passion project over the course of several years, launch that game, and then blow up and make a career out of it. And on the community side, a big reason why a lot of these games have staying power and continue to be revenue demons is because these developers, they're able to be much more agile in the market. Many AAA publishers nowadays are just looking at what can be the most profitable, what make line go up. Because of this, many decisions for design are made by upper C-suite figures who just give devs directives for the game. Due to the bureaucracy of it all, a lot of the times, things move very slowly, not just in the development stages, but also after the game has already been launched. I'm sure everyone watching this has kind of realized that game development is taking longer and longer and longer and longer and longer as time passes. But knowing some people in the industry, there is a ton of red tape that needs to be cut through in order for something to be made, created, sent out the door and into consumers' hands. Something wrong with the game after launch? Well, can't do anything about it now. No, we could change course, but if we change course, then that could be less money that we're gonna make, or maybe it's just too much work to actually put in to fix it. You know, I'm looking at you again, Star Wars Battlefront 2. I'm looking right at you. Fucking EA, dude. Now, when you compare this level of development to something like an indie team, you can definitely see where the indie team is a lot more agile. Like I said earlier, I've been playing a game called Necessity. The game's great. You should definitely, take a look at it. It's phenomenal. But I mean, this game has been releasing patches like every 3 days, fixing a bunch of stuff. Community gives feedback, and they're just like, okay, it's in the next patch. Indie developers, or developers that are less beholden to investors, have the ability to be a lot more agile and interact with the community openly as they're creating the game or releasing patches for the game. Feedback doesn't have to go to a community manager, then to another community manager, and then that community manager gives it to this community manager, because this community manager is underneath this community manager, and this community manager doesn't want to handle it. So then this community manager then gives this to a dev lead, and then the dev lead looks at it and they're like, yeah, okay, I like that. And then that dev lead gives it to the dev head that's working on this specific system. And then once the guy looks at it or girl looks at it, then they then give it to the people underneath them to then work on the thing. Smaller dev teams can just look at the feedback that the community has given them and determine on whether that is something that they would like to implement into the game or fix for the game. And they just do it. This ability to be agile and open with the community creates a very passionate community fan base that will go way above and beyond just buying the newest $5 costume in the store. But past like the indie teams or, the AAA devs that just have never been with the live service model, another group is kind of emerging out of the live service revolution, the revolution against live service. Another group is starting to emerge here. And that group is AAA publishers looking at what they've done and realizing that they're losing a lot of money. They're starting to realize that you can make a live service game, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna be a good game. I'm looking again at you, Star Wars Battlefront 2. There's a lot of risk involved with trying to create a cash cow. Instead of focusing your game on something like the game is just fun, the motive becomes where can we get all of their attention and all of their money to make the most profits. Because of this, when a live service game comes out, sometimes with hundreds of millions of dollars invested, they can crash and burn because the live service model doesn't interact or mesh well with the actual game and how fun the game is. Concord, Suicide Squad, Anthem, Fallout 76 at launch. they've brought it back, but at launch it was really bad. Skull and Bones, Payday 3, Marvel's Avengers, Crucible, X-Defiant, Babylon's Fall. So many games that have flopped so spectacularly that you just can't even play them anymore. Because of the risk that comes along with trying to create a large-scoped, gigantic live service world, and with the pushback that's been occurring within the industry from consumers, a lot of publishers are looking at what they had planned for live service games to come out, and they're just canceling them. And I'm not saying that live service games are going to disappear forever. I think that they are going to evolve. But I do think that games like Baldur's Gate 3, No Man's Sky, Expedition 33, or hell, even games like Vampire Survivors or Necessi are starting to turn the tides back into a more consumer-friendly gaming landscape. Smaller, more focused gaming experiences are something that a lot of gamers are looking for, more and more by the minute. With everything that I just went over though, I do want to bring it back to the present, and bring it back to the original question that I had. The question that made me create this video. And that is, do I think that we are in the best era of gaming in history? While this might be a boiling hot take, I believe that we absolutely are. Personally, I have had more spectacular gaming experiences in the last 10 years than I ever did growing up. Sure, there were great games. Some of them my favorite games that have ever been created. Some that are over 25 years old. But there is so much more games to play nowadays, and so many great games that are being created every single day. It's hard for me to sit here and say that we're not in the best time to be into gaming. Am I feeling a single-player adventure game? Oh, Baldur's Gate 3 is right there for me. Do I want to play an FPS? Well, Battlefield 6 is pretty good. Escape from Tarkov just released into 1.0 and is on Steam now. Cyberpunk 2077 is great, especially the new DLC and all the work that they've put in over the years on it. And, you know, have you played any of the recent Doom games? Because those games rock my socks off. Are you looking for something that's a little bit more story-centric? Well, Dispatch, Deltarune, Undertale, Expedition 33, all there, all great. Something a little bit more like in and out, get in, play for a little bit, and then get out and move on with your day. Vagabonk, Vampire Survivors, Clover Pit, Ball X Pit, Balatro, Backpack Battles, all cheap, all great. The point I'm making is there are hundreds of great games that have been made in the last decade. Hell, in the last 5 years, there's probably been hundreds of great games that have been made. You just have to broaden your horizon and go and look for them. And if you see one that maybe a lot of people are excited for, and you're like, I don't know if I'm really into that, just give it a try. You never know. Just give it a go and see what you think. Nostalgia might be a powerful drug, but some of these games are even more potent as a drug. And while I'm sitting here, well, I'm not sitting. While I'm standing here talking to you now, new developers are creating new ideas every single day to put out into the world for us all to try it. And with the vast wealth of knowledge and all of the tools, all of these experiences are right around the corner. And you know, maybe my rose-tinted glasses are on right now, but I actually think that the future of gaming is actually quite bright. There will be a reckoning of some sort in some way. Things just can't keep kind of going as they are, but the pushback and the realization from some publishers is starting to turn the tide overall. Looking at where we're coming from 10 years ago to where we are now, I think the possibilities of the future are endless. I'm excited to see what maybe somebody watching right now ends up creating. I'm excited to find my next gaming experience, and I can't wait to get lost in whatever that beautiful creation could be. Except if it's fucking something like Star Wars Battle.